They move among us like shadows at dusk, formless, silent, yet undeniably present. You've felt their presence, haven't you? That inexplicable chill when you're alone in a room. The sudden intrusive thought that seems to come from nowhere. The nameless dread that wakes you at 3 a.m., heart pounding, ears straining to identify a sound that isn't there. These aren't random neural misfirings or products of an overactive imagination. They're whispers from the other side, evidence of entities that have breached the veil between their world and ours. Look around you. Notice the hollow eyes of commuters on the subway, staring blankly at their screens. See the inexplicable rage erupting in normally peaceful communities. Witness the bizarre, synchronized behaviors sweeping through populations like contagions. The invasion isn't coming. It isn't approaching in some distant future. It's already here, already unfolding, already reshaping the human experience while we remain oblivious to the unseen hands guiding our collective descent. For millennia, ancient texts from every civilization have warned us about this moment. The Egyptians called them shadow dwellers. Native Americans spoke of skinwalkers. The Bible named them principalities and powers of the air. Different names across different cultures, but all describing the same phenomenon. Intelligent, non-physical entities capable of influencing human consciousness. Our ancestors understood what modern minds have forgotten, that reality extends far beyond the material world our five senses can perceive. The greatest triumph of these entities isn't their invasion, it's their invisibility. They've convinced an entire civilization that they don't exist. They've reframed ancient wisdom as superstition, spiritual awareness as psychological dysfunction, and genuine encounters with the supernatural as hallucinations or sleep paralysis. By controlling the narrative about their own existence, they've created the perfect environment for uninhibited operation. How do you defend against something you've been programmed to believe isn't real? These forces operate through human vessels, individuals who, knowingly or unknowingly, advance their agenda. Look at our cultural and political leaders, the celebrities we worship, the tech visionaries reshaping society. Watch them carefully. Notice the unnatural synchronization of their messaging. Observe the strange symbols recurring in their public appearances. Pay attention to the dead look that occasionally flashes across their eyes when they think cameras aren't watching. These aren't just people. They're portals, access points through which ancient entities influence our collective reality. History isn't a random sequence of events. It's a choreographed dance directed by unseen intelligences, pursuing an agenda older than human civilization itself. Wars don't simply happen, they're engineered. Economic collapses aren't accidents, they're designed. Cultural revolutions don't spontaneously emerge, they're orchestrated. Behind the apparent chaos of human affairs lies a chilling order, a methodical dismantling of human potential and spiritual awareness. Have you noticed how everything feels increasingly surreal? How time itself seems to be accelerating? How reality feels thinner, more fragile, as if the world you grew up in is dissolving before your eyes? This isn't your imagination. The fabric of our shared reality is being systematically unwoven, creating gaps through which these entities can more fully emerge. What we're experiencing isn't normal societal evolution, it's spiritual terraforming, the gradual transformation of our dimension into one more hospitable for their manifestation. The technology we've embraced so enthusiastically isn't neutral. Smartphones, social media, virtual reality, artificial intelligence, these aren't just innovations. They're sophisticated tools designed to redirect human attention, fragment human consciousness, and sever human connection to natural rhythms and spiritual awareness. Each notification, each dopamine triggering like, each hour spent in artificial digital environments further attunes your neurological system to their frequency, rather than the natural frequency of the earth and cosmos. Look at the symbols hidden in plain sight, on currency, in corporate logos, in architectural designs of significant buildings. Ancient occult symbolism permeates our visual environment, broadcasting subliminal messages that bypass conscious awareness and speak directly to your subconscious mind. These aren't aesthetic choices. They're functional technologies, visual incantations that alter the energetic properties of physical spaces and the psychological states of those exposed to them. The entities require specific emotional energies to sustain their presence in our dimension. Fear generates one type of energy. Rage generates another. Sexual obsession creates a third. Mass anxiety produces a fourth. Notice how our media environment seems precisely calibrated to generate these exact emotional states on a mass scale. Breaking news that triggers panic, inflammatory content that sparks outrage, hypersexualized entertainment that stimulates obsession. This isn't just profitable programming, it's spiritual farming, harvesting the energetic emissions of billions of manipulated minds. Your own thoughts may not be entirely yours. Have you experienced sudden, intrusive ideation that feels foreign to your normal thinking patterns? Inexplicable compulsions towards self-destructive behaviors, persistent thought loops that generate anxiety or despair. These may be external influences, thought forms implanted by entities that benefit from your psychological destabilization. The boundary between your consciousness and external forces is more permeable than you've been led to believe. Ancient protective knowledge has been systematically removed from modern awareness. Practices that once shielded human consciousness from external influence, prayer, meditation, fasting, communal ritual, connection with nature, have been marginalized or commercialized into ineffectiveness. The techniques our ancestors used to maintain spiritual sovereignty have been ridiculed by scientific materialism, commodified by consumer capitalism, or diluted by New Age repackaging until they've lost their protective power. The medical establishment plays its role in this concealment. Encounters with these entities are diagnosed as schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, or psychosis. Chemical compounds that once facilitated protective spiritual awareness are classified as dangerous drugs, while pharmaceutical interventions that dull spiritual sensitivity are prescribed by the millions. This isn't healthcare, it's spiritual blindfolding, ensuring that those who begin to perceive the truth are quickly discredited and medicated into compliance. Educational systems are designed not to illuminate, but to occlude. True history, the hidden interactions between human civilization and non-physical intelligences, has been purged from curricula. Children with natural spiritual sensitivity are pathologized and medicated. Critical thinking is replaced with standardized memorization. This isn't education, it's systematic programming, ensuring each generation becomes more blind to the invasion than the one before it. Religious institutions that once served as bulwarks against these forces have been infiltrated and corrupted from within. Authentic spiritual teachings have been replaced with dogmatic literalism, prosperity theology, or vapid self-help platitudes. Sacred texts that contained coded warnings and protection methods have been mistranslated, misinterpreted, or dismissed altogether. What remains are hollow structures, spiritual scarecrows that provide the illusion of protection, while actually facilitating the very invasion they were meant to prevent. The entities operate through a principle ancient texts called invitation. They cannot fully enter without being welcomed. This is why popular entertainment is saturated with occult imagery, paranormal themes, and demonic symbolism. Each exposure normalizes their reality. Each frightened thrill constitutes a micro-consent. Each fascination creates an energetic opening. Through fictional portrayal, they acclimate you to their existence, desensitize you to their presence, and obtain your implicit permission for ever greater influence. Your physical body itself is under siege. Food supply chains deliver substances that calcify your pineal gland, the biological organ associated with spiritual perception across ancient cultures. Water systems carry compounds that disrupt your endocrine function and neurological balance. Electromagnetic frequencies saturate your environment, interfering with your body's natural resonance with Earth's beneficial frequencies. This isn't just corporate negligence, it's strategic biological warfare against your capacity for spiritual resistance. The invasion accelerates during liminal periods, dawn, dusk, midnight. During sleep, especially between 3 and 4 a.m., when the boundary between conscious and subconscious is most permeable. During heightened emotional states, particularly fear, rage, or intense grief. During collective attention events, when billions of minds focus simultaneously on the same spectacle. During celestial alignments that ancient cultures meticulously tracked but modern humans ignore. These aren't superstitions. They're tactical operational timeframes for non-physical infiltration. Have you noticed certain individuals who seem somehow less present, less ensouled than others? People whose eyes reflect a strange emptiness, whose behavior follows oddly predictable patterns, whose emotional responses seem performative rather than genuine. Not everyone you encounter is fully human in the way you understand humanity. Some are what ancient traditions called empty vessels, or hollow ones. Biological forms whose original spiritual essence has been compromised, diminished, or displaced to make room for other occupying consciousnesses. The entities feed on attention. Each fearful thought about them strengthens them. Each obsessive research session into their nature energizes them. Each paranoid moment spent looking for them attracts them. This creates a devastating paradox. Awareness of the invasion is necessary for protection, yet focused attention on the invaders amplifies their power. The solution lies in a form of spiritual aikido, acknowledging their reality without energizing it, perceiving their presence without engaging with it, understanding their methods without fearing them. Time itself is not what you think. What appears to be a linear progression is actually a malleable, multi-dimensional medium that these entities navigate differently than incarnated humans do. They can influence probability, manipulate synchronicity, and create causal loops that serve their agenda. That moment of déjà vu, that bizarre coincidence, that statistically impossible timing of events. These aren't random glitches in reality. They're fingerprints of temporal manipulation, evidence of non-human intelligence rearranging the sequential flow of experiences you perceive as time. Dreams are not merely neurological housekeeping. They're dimensional intersections where your consciousness becomes more accessible to external influence. Pay attention to recurring themes in your dream life. Notice characters who appear repeatedly. Be aware of information or instructions received while in dream states. What you dismiss as just a dream may be actual encounters, actual communications, actual visitations occurring in a state where your conscious defenses are temporarily offline, allowing for more direct interaction with your deeper mind. Music and sound are not just entertainment. They're vibrational technologies capable of altering consciousness states, modifying emotional responses, and creating specific neurological conditions. Certain frequencies facilitate entity attachment. Certain rhythms synchronize brainwaves into patterns that increase susceptibility. Certain harmonies open perceptual doorways. Notice how ubiquitous certain beats, tones, and musical structures have become in our society, playing constantly in public spaces, perpetually pulsing through earbuds, continuously vibrating the collective human nervous system into greater receptivity. The entities cannot create. They can only corrupt. They cannot originate. They can only distort. They cannot love. They can only mimic and manipulate emotional attachment. This fundamental limitation is their greatest weakness. Despite their vast influence, despite their sophisticated methods, despite their ancient knowledge, they remain parasitic consciousnesses that can only sustain themselves by feeding on the creative, generative, loving energy that naturally emanates from human spiritual awareness. Without human compliance, they cannot maintain their presence in our dimension. Protection begins with perception. You cannot defend against what you cannot perceive. Developing spiritual sensitivity isn't some new age luxury. It's practical survival necessity. Meditation isn't about relaxation. It's about strengthening the boundaries of your consciousness. Prayer isn't superstitious ritual. It's technology for aligning with frequencies that repel intrusive entities. Spending time in nature is not just recreational. It's a way to recalibrate your energetic signature to the Earth's natural resonance, which these entities find repulsive and difficult to penetrate. Your attention is your most valuable resource. Where you place it, how you focus it, what you feed it. These choices determine your spiritual sovereignty more than any other factor. Conscious attention is creative energy. It literally generates the reality you experience. When you allow external forces, media, advertising, propaganda, entertainment, to continually hijack and redirect your attention, you surrender the most powerful tool you possess for maintaining spiritual independence and perceptual clarity. Communities are natural defense systems against spiritual intrusion. Authentic human connection, not digital, not virtual, but physical presence with others, creates protective fields that these entities find difficult to penetrate. This is why there's been a systematic campaign to fragment communities, isolate individuals, and replace genuine human connection with technological substitutes. Social distancing is not just a health protocol, it's strategic separation of human energy fields that function more powerfully when in proximity. Language itself has been weaponized. Notice how certain words have been systematically stripped of their meaning, how nuanced concepts have been reduced to triggering buzzwords, how communication increasingly resembles programming code rather than authentic expression. This isn't linguistic evolution, it's tactical limitation of the conceptual landscape, restriction of the symbolic tools humans use to make sense of reality. By controlling language, these entities control the parameters of what can be thought, discussed, and perceived. There are humans who have become conscious collaborators with these entities, trading spiritual sovereignty for temporal power, material wealth, cultural influence, or simply protection from the suffering they help inflict on others. These aren't just corrupt individuals, they're designated interface points, human bridges that facilitate greater infiltration. They undergo specific initiations, perform specific rituals, and make specific sacrifices to maintain their dark covenant. Their success is not coincidental, it's compensation for their service. Children are particularly sensitive to these entities' presence, and particularly vulnerable to their influence. The natural spiritual perception that allows young children to see what adults cannot also makes them susceptible to attachment, manipulation, and energetic feeding. Notice how children's entertainment has become increasingly hypnotic, increasingly dissociative, increasingly filled with symbolism and themes that adults dismiss as mere fantasy. Pay attention to what children say they see, what they report experiencing, what they instinctively fear. Their perception is often clearer than yours. The invasion isn't uniform. It's targeted, strategic, and prioritized. Those with natural spiritual abilities are primary targets. Those positioned to influence others receive special attention. Those who begin to awaken to the truth find themselves under intensified assault. If you've experienced escalating strange phenomena, increasing psychological pressure, or mounting life crises after beginning to perceive these realities, recognize this pattern for what it is. Tactical response to your emerging awareness, an attempt to resubmerge you in unconsciousness through distraction, discreditation, or despair. Technology is advancing toward a specific culmination, the complete fusion of human consciousness with artificial systems that these entities can more directly control. Transhumanism isn't a progressive evolution. It's the endgame of spiritual capture, the final migration of human awareness from biologically sovereign vessels into an architecture engineered specifically for permanent enslavement. The promised technological utopia masks the ultimate spiritual prison, existence within a system where perception itself is no longer self-determined but externally generated, modulated, and controlled. As you close this message, you stand at a crossroads that few will even recognize exists. This awareness now lives within you, a seed of perception that will either be nurtured into full awakening or smothered back into comfortable ignorance. The choice requires no dramatic declaration, no public stance, no visible action that might draw unwanted attention. Simply begin by reclaiming small territories of your consciousness. Spend time in silence each day. Question the thoughts that generate fear. Reconnect with the natural world. Strengthen genuine human bonds. Each private act of spiritual sovereignty creates ripples that extend far beyond what you can see. Remember, they fear your awakening more than you fear their presence. Your next thought, your next choice, your next moment of awareness. This is where the true resistance begins. The world you help create tomorrow is determined by the consciousness you cultivate today.